Hello, everybody. My name is Maurice Button. I'm the CEO of Citium Financial Global, and I'd like to welcome you to the latest in our series of speaker interviews. I'm delighted to have with us today Richard Barker, who's a board member of the International Sustainability Standards Board. Richard's going to be speaking at our third annual Sustainability Reporting Summit, which is being held in London on the 31st of January. Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
It's very good to have you with us today. I don't think anybody active in this field could have failed to notice the publication of the new ISSB standards, the two new standards on sustainability. Could you tell us a little bit more about the objectives of the standards?
Sure. So, what we're trying to do is consolidate investor-oriented sustainability reporting so that a global baseline is established, and that global baseline means reporting all sustainability-related risks and opportunities about which there is material information for investors. Yeah. So S1 and S2 are sort of major landmark steps, as it were, in that direction. And this includes embedding sustainability into existing IFRS. So, we have an existing system of corporate reporting, which is global, which is in-house, as it were, and investor demand for understanding how sustainability extends the information set for them is very high. And so our role is to meet that demand, essentially.
Yeah, fantastic. And I suppose by incorporating it into existing financial reporting, perhaps that makes it easier for people to get their heads around this and understand how to do it.
Go ahead.
But of course, there are many other sustainability reporting requirements, and you mentioned in your answer consolidating this, but the EU CSRD, there's a proposed SEC sustainability disclosure rules, and a host of others as well. So how does it fit? Does it fit on top of all of these and they're subsumed into it, or how does it work?
Sure. So I think that the consolidation that's happened so far has been considerable, actually. So on the investor-oriented side, as it were, for investor-oriented sustainability reporting, SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, which is very widely used industry, and also integrated reporting and CDSB, both with a sort of long history in the space, are fully absorbed within the ISSB. And TCFD has recently announced that it's sunsetting its activities in order that the ISSB will pick them up and run with them. So again, hugely important global initiative that is now part of one initiative, as it were. And IOSCO has endorsed our standards for use worldwide, and CDP is using our standards for their platform, the data platform, again very widely used. So on the with respect to investor-oriented sustainability reporting, there has been a huge amount of consolidation. That really leaves, I would say, three globally significant standard setters in the space. And there's two global standards. There's ISSB and GRI. GRI first movers in the space, being around a long time, very widely used, with a somewhat different purpose. So GRI is concerned with reporting on impact. All stakeholders, whereas ISSB is concerned with reporting to investors on how sustainability-related issues affect their investment decisions, right? So the two are somewhat different. They overlap enormously, but they're somewhat different and complementary. ESRS is in effect a combination of the two, and it's globally significant because of the extraterritorial reach of the EU. But it's a regional standard, and in the same way that the SEC rule, if and when it comes out, is also a jurisdictional issue. So I think there is one more thing to say. I mean, the SEC is unambiguously investor-oriented, and so actually every country around the world needs to have some sort of jurisdictional sort of legislative adoption of standards. And the SEC climate disclosure rule is entirely fits with S2. There's no sort of conflict in there. So that's all sort of pushing, I think, in the same direction. So even for IFRS accounting standards, every country around the world has to say, yes, you're required to use these, right? So that pushes in the same direction. The one different double materiality in the EU, and whether and how that pushes in a different direction, I think is sort of being worked out in real time, as it were. But I think there is a lot of consolidation, actually.
So in essence, it is coming together, but with a few unresolved issues, and with some of the standards serving different purposes. What do you think that the main benefits and challenges will be for companies in complying with the standards?
So benefits and challenges, I think both are really important. So the way I think about this is it is similar to financial accounting, right? So yeah, it is challenging to have the resource in place that captures all of your transactions globally and summarizes them for for the benefit of investors. But
Mm,
no company would choose not to do that, right? Because if you don't, apart from it being required, if you don't do that, investors don't invest in you. And so
yeah,
it's just so sustainability reporting is very similar. It's the systems are not anywhere near as mature as they are in financial accounting, but the need for them is very, very similar, I would say. And the mutual benefit, investors need to know the information, and companies need to tell their investors.
yeah,
So, and I think that actually that focusing on that mutual benefit is really, really important, because then you understand what this is all about. It's no longer a kind of compliance exercise or a greenwashing report or something. No, it's actually core to
yeah.
the way of the business.
Yeah, and are there sufficient software providers of sustainability reporting software to enable this to happen, to make it easier for
Well,
companies? Presumably there are a
um,
lot.
yeah, and what there is we talk about sustainability related risk and opportunity, right? And
Yeah,
the opportunities for providers in that space are enormous right now,
yeah,
right? And yeah, and the market
I
is
bet.
developing very quickly.
Yeah, yeah,
The kind of
yeah.
issues, kind of questions
Sorry,
people
go on.
have now will be very different from the ones they have, 2, 3 years from now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's true. The standards include reporting on Scope 3 emissions.
Yeah,
As I understand that, I think that's supply chains and other
yeah,
external
yeah.
uh, bodies of various kinds. How practicable is that?
Mhm,
To what
mhm,
extent can companies be expected to have that information? I mean,
mhm,
it's quite
mhm.
hard to get for themselves,
It's a
let alone
really, yeah, it's
buyers.
a really good and very topical question, and in my mind, it's kind of the wrong way around, right?
Yeah,
Um, so, if in order to understand sustainability, you need to understand Scope 3, right? So, if you
yeah,
take the auto industry as an example, you cannot understand the economics of an automaker if you don't know the emissions of their cars on the road, right?
yeah,
So, are they producing electric vehicles or are they not? Hybrids or whatever it happens to be. You also can't understand the sustainability transition of those businesses if you don't
mm,
understand where they're getting their lithium from, right?
yeah,
Or what the emissions are in their supply chain. So you have to understand the value chain to be able to
mm,
understand sustainability performance. That so viewed in those terms, the question is not um, are we as a company ready to produce a perfect answer to the question of what are your scope 3 emissions?
mm,
The question is, well, what information do you have, and how much are you on top of this? How well do
yeah,
you understand it? How much estimation is there in the numbers that you're providing to the
yeah,
investor? And more or less, where are the emissions? Are they upstream? Are they downstream? Are they
mm,
manageable? Do you have a plan? So
mm, mm,
it's not like financial accounting in that sense. It's not a disclosure which is you must be able to tell us precisely how much debt you have, right?
mm,
It's you need to explain your sustainability risks and opportunities and what you're doing about how you're managing them, how you're thinking about them, and what you're doing about them. So the quality of Scope 3 disclosure will vary enormously across different entities, and so it should, because
yeah.
different entities are in a different place in terms of understanding and managing and being on top of those currently.
Okay. And what are the next steps in the ISSB work plan? Can we expect to see a nature or biodiversity related standard in due
Yeah,
course? I saw
yeah,
some hint of that.
yeah. So we're very delighted at TNFD, all the work that TNFD have put in,
Yeah.
and the huge range of input and testing and so on that's gone into that work, and
Mm,
the very explicit link to, we'd like the ISSB to pick this up kind of thing
yeah.
is really powerful. And nature obviously is hugely important. I mean, social is the other sort of big bucket of issues.
Mm,
Um, and likewise connecting with financial statements and how we, um, an example would be a company makes a climate commitment. To what extent is information about the climate commitment in the financial statements, and to what
yeah.
extent is it not? And therefore, what complementary information do you need outside the financial
Mm,
statements? So, um, Another area of development is just embedding S1 and S2, right? And there's a very strong demand for more guidance, more educational material, and so on. And how do we do this stuff? So it's a pretty full agenda. We haven't yet. We're in the process right now of establishing what our priorities are within that space. We met. The board discussed it last month, and we're discussing next week. So we don't yet, but all of the above at some point.
Fantastic. It sounds that there's a lot more to come in the pipeline. Richard, thank you so much for your time on that. But we look forward to hearing from you in a lot more detail at the event. So for our viewers, we hope you'll be able to attend the 3rd Annual Sustainability Reporting Summit in London on the 31st of January. More details available on the City and Financial Global website. And sadly, we've run out of time. So many thanks, Richard.
Very good. Okay, cheers.